It would be an understatement to say that Murderbot is getting hotter. Murderbot Alexander Skarsgård and Mensa Nomadumezweni nearly died in a fiery cliffhanger last week, just hours after the Preservation Alliance. Survey crew and Murderbot had a necessary but tense discussion about what the former's free will might mean for everyone on this mission. The pair's near miss is quickly resolved in Episode 6, Command Feed, which was written by showrunners Chris and Paul Weitz and directed by Aurora Guerrero. However, it also intensifies the series' overall tension in other ways, particularly by establishing a decisive, violent breaking point that could end Murderbot's developing bond with its would-be found family. In Episode 6, Murderbot and Mensa find themselves stranded and under stress. Despite barely avoiding an exploding beacon, Murderbot and Mensa are grounded until they repair the broken hopper. The situation, two individuals stuck together, reminds Murderbot of its favorite episode of The Rise and Fall of Sanctuary Moon, episode 356 in particular, where the implausible romance between Navbot 337 Alt 66 DeWanda Wise and Captain Hossein John Cho transitions from developing tension into theatrical fantasy. Lee Bibi's Murderbot episode 6 shows her true nature newcomer Lee Bibi Anna Conkle appears intent on wooing everyone in the area while the other scientists finish packing up at the habitat. Since Gorathan David Dasmalkian ignored her in the previous episode and a terrified Murderbot didn't return her boundary crossing, and dehumanizing, for want of a better term, overtures, she focuses her horribly awkward flirtations this week on Bharadwaj Tamara Podemsky. Bharadwaj is shocked when a stranger kisses her injured hand, but Lee Bibi's inquiries concerning the local monster that caused Bharadwaj's scar are cut short by Gorathan's unanswered calls to Mensa and Murderbot. In Episode 6, Murderbot and Mensa get closer. Mensa and Murderbot haven't advanced with the hopper in the interim. However, when one of Mensa's panic attacks decides to occur, this pair has a moment of sincere, non-transactional kindness in contrast to Lee Bibi's oppressive deceit. Murderbot uses Sanctuary Moon, the only balm it is familiar with, because it wants to help but is unaware how to shield a customer from emotional discomfort. On one of the hopper's screens, it projects the selected episode, promising a skeptical Mensa that this soothing episode has synchronized breathing. In fact, Mensa's tense nerves are calmed by following the prescribed practice. Murderbot appears both surprised and comforted by this strange, amazing secunit as she memorizes the episode's soothing mantra. Murderbot, still leaking from the horrific knife wound it received during the hopper's crash, is shown face down on the floor as the tender exchange comes to a conclusion. After an unknown amount of time, Murderbot awakens on its back with multiple folded blankets supporting its head. Mensa fixes the leak by pouring the hopper's lubricant supply into Murderbot's arm port, and he hovers close by. Motivated, Murderbot proposes that they use a portion of its own brain circuitry to replace the hopper's burned-out control coil. It's cloned tissue intended for high-speed data processing, even though the wires may be composed of cloned organic tissue. Mensa reluctantly slices through 2 layers of Murderbot's flesh, revealing a spine composed of linked iron bolts, and removes a piece of nerve tissue from the spinal column of the squeamish vegetarian. Mensa laughs half giddy, Murderbot makes a dry joke, and the hopper's systems come back to life.